Well, I'm sure you were with me for the last CBT Nugget in our DCUCI course where we looked at service profiles. You now realize how powerful they are. You now realize how mandatory they are in our unified computing system environment. Let's jump in as we talk about powerful service profile templates. Now, I've got great news for you on this service profile template concept. You already know how to create them. That's right. We are going to go through a process that was very similar to just a service profile creation, okay? So the creation of a template isn't going to be that different. There is one huge fact, though, and that is we associate a template with a server pool. We don't take templates and associate them with an individual blade. Templates are just that. They're templates for the quick creation of a true service profile, and the true service profile you go ahead and assign to a particular blade itself. Also, think about the fact that we need pooled identities. Okay, so we absolutely have to be using a resource pool concept in order to create our templates. Think about why you would want a service profile template. Maybe there's database servers that you often provision, and maybe these are different from web servers that you provision. Notice there's going to be a lot of similarities in this category. There's going to be a lot of similarities in this category, and they are going to have some pretty big differences between each other. So we can create templates that have the basic boilerplate stuff that we want basically in our service profile template, and then we can tweak from there when we actually make the individual service profile. So this is a really, really cool concept. Now, there are indeed two types, and obviously I'm going to need you to master this information. There's what we call initial templates, and then there's what we call updating templates. Now, here's the deal. Initial templates are used to create a service profile, get it off and flying, and then it's not tied to that service profile in any way. We can go in there and we can manipulate that service profile as we see fit. An updating template is tied to the service profile. Okay, there is this relationship with the service profile. Why would we want to do this? Well, because we can go in and manipulate the updating template, and sure enough, that will update the service profile or profiles that are associated with it. Now, this brings up a very interesting potential problem. Number one, these service profiles are read-only. Now, that's kind of a weird state for a service profile to be in, but it is that way because it's tied back to its master or parent, if you will, the updating template. But that doesn't give me that big a concern because, after all, if you attended this course and you understand everything we're speaking about, you would understand that our service profiles based on these updating templates are read-only, and this is not a big deal. But here's where things could get a little scary. Let's say we created 50 different blade configurations based on an updating profile. So think about this now. We, from an updating profile, created the service profile for 50 different blades, and now we make some change to the updating profile, like we manipulate, the Mac pool. Well, what's going to happen when we make that change for the Mac pool for the updating template? You guessed it, all 50 blade servers are going to simultaneously reboot. Now, since the UCS has been upgraded, like about 1.4 or higher, great news. Before UCS commits that change, it's going to give you a nice warning dialog message. And that dialog message is literally going to list all of the blade resources that are going to recycle based on your particular configuration change. So please be aware, we do get visual confirmation that we are about to dramatically impact our UCS data center infrastructure when we go to make this change in the updating template. This is obviously great news that they've enhanced the feedback that you get as an administrator now. Now, by the way, this concept of a template, specifically an initial template and an updating template, isn't just specific in the UCS to profiles. If you go over to the LAN tab, look down here on the LAN tab and you'll see virtual NIC templates. Yep, sure enough, there's a template feature for the inputting of virtual NIC settings. And then you can tie this to a service profile or a service profile template. So we have a template for our virtual NIC settings. As you might guess, on the SAN tab, we have the ability to create an initial or updating virtual host bus adapter template. So if you find yourself really caught up in repetitive setting of virtual NIC settings, especially in the case where we're dealing with a trunk interface that has many particular VLANs that are going to be appropriate for it, go ahead and create a template and go ahead and leverage the power of those settings just being entered once inside a template. So let's get to the million-dollar question, shall we? How do we create these wonderful service profile templates? Well, if you go to your servers tab, we notice there's a node for service profiles. Well, guess what? There's a node for service profile templates. You can right-click and you can create a service profile template. Now, what do you think is going to be one of the key parameters you need to input? That's right, whether it's going to be an initial template or an updating template. That's the key decision here. Everything else, giving it a name, specifying the UUID assignment, specifying the network parameters, all of this stuff is going to be nearly identical to the creation of just a service profile. So, very, very simple to create a template. You're going to go in and you're going to create that template using the same sequence of steps after your initial screen that you would do in a normal service profile creation. Once you've created your service profile template, creating a service profile from it is absolutely simple. We go to Service Profiles, we right-click, and we choose Create Service Profile from Template. Notice you would have the ability to create multiple service profiles from a template as well. So it's simple to use that template once you have created it. Now here's a scenario for you. Let's say you decided to create a service profile from one of those updating templates. And then you decide, wait a minute, I don't want that relationship anymore. I want to go ahead and free this service profile from that updating template. Well, all you have to do is unbind from the template. Here you can see I've got our test service profile selected. And over here in the actions for that profile, grayed out of course, is unbind from the template. That's the option that you can use to free yourself from an updating template. Notice we can also bind this particular profile to a template, and that option is actually available to us because we aren't bound to a template at this stage. So you have complete control over this powerful updating template situation. Now, let's say you are looking at your UCS system and you realize, my goodness, here I've got server 1/1, and server 1/1 has a service profile associated with it, and that service profile is absolutely perfect for this server 1/2. What I want to do is I'd like to create a clone of that service profile and attach it to server 1/2. But of course, I need to refresh all of the identifier information, right? I want it to have, of course, a unique UUID. I want it to have the correct MAC addressing and everything. So what you can do is you can create a clone. That's right, you can create clones of service profiles and even service profile templates. Watch how easy that is to do. We'll go to the Servers tab and we have our test service profile here. You right click it and you say create a clone. And it's going to walk you through the couple of steps required to create that clone. So I'll say test underscore clone. I'll say the organization we're going to create this in is the Americas. It's going to say, bang, done. We have successfully created a test clone in the Americas. And it's going to refresh that resource information, that identity information that we would need, and we can quickly apply this cloned service profile where we would like it. Well, you know what time it is. It's final exam time. Remember, too, some of these can seem a bit easy because we just covered this material directly. So please be ready to review certain areas if you feel that there will be some evaporation, right? I mean, it's not typical that you're going to be asked a certification question right after studying that material, right? So please keep in mind that as you look over the topic list that we've gone through, right? When you look at our course on your CBT Nuggets page, take a look at those headings and you might find, gee, you know what? It's been 2 weeks since I watched one of Anthony's early nuggets, and I've already forgotten that concept. And definitely get back in there and review if you are interested in certification and you're worried about evaporation taking place. So this should be pretty easy for us because we just covered this. But let's see. You have a Blade server that you no longer want to be subject to an updating template. Okay, I think I recall what we need to do here, but what should we do? A, modify the service profile directly. B, unbind the Blade from its service profile. C, unbind the service profile from its template. Or D, reassociate the Blade server. Now, notice if it's been a while since you've worked with the UCS or been a while since you've studied this concept, all of those really sound decent. Yeah, you'd be a little puzzled here, right? Yeah, they all sound like perfectly valid ideas. Well, we can't modify the profile directly because if the profile is subject to an updating template, it's in read-only mode as we discussed in this nugget. Unbind the Blade from its service profile? Well, that's close, but no cigar. We want to unbind the service profile from its template. When we unbind the service profile from its updating template, then we are no longer in read-only mode on that service profile. We can modify it and therefore modify the underlying Blade server. Now, in the exam environment, I wouldn't stop here, right? The great strategy is to check D and make sure D is incorrect and not a better answer than C, and we already know it isn't. Reassociate the Blade server will not get it done. We need to unbind that service profile from its template. Well, as always, I'm so proud of you. Great work in this nugget. Congratulations. And I sure hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.